After years of living next to the same couple, I mentioned in passing that we were thinking of selling our home. A week later, we got a call from our realtor. "Why didn't you tell me you already had it listed?" I was confused. Then I saw the listing, same photos, same address, but with their names as the owners. When I confronted them, they said, "We're just testing the waters. No harm done." The offer they accepted? From her cousin. Let me start with this. I'm not someone who looks for revenge. I'm a calm man. Steady. I fix things for a living, and I keep my head down. My name is Michael Price. I'm 58 years old, married to Teresa for 33 years, and we live in a quiet, tight-lipped neighborhood in Vancouver, Washington. We've been in this house for almost 15 years. Built it up from plain to perfect. Brick patio, fresh garden beds every spring, repainted the place ourselves last summer. It's our pride. The house saw our 2 kids grow up, leave, come back, and finally move out again. It's not just a house to us, it's the story of our life. The Langs moved in next door about 7 years ago. Alan and Tricia Lang. Friendly at first, always waving, bringing over pie after church or dropping off old tools. Alan used to work in IT. Tricia was a teacher. Retired early, living comfortably off what I assumed were pensions or some good investments. Seemed like a decent enough couple. Loud though. Always needed to be the center of attention. But over the years, that friendly air started to sour. Alan would poke jokes that didn't feel like jokes. "Mike, you sure you don't want me to teach you how to cut your lawn in straight lines?" Or, "I guess you guys like the rustic look." Tricia always seemed to be peeking out through her blinds. If you didn't invite her over, she'd find a reason to drop by anyway. We never had a falling out exactly, but we pulled back. Didn't talk much anymore, didn't share tools, didn't do BBQs together. It was quiet distance, but I never expected it to get nasty. Last March, Teresa and I were talking about maybe moving somewhere warmer. Just an idea. Nothing serious yet. We mentioned it to our kids and close friends, and that was it. One day while I was outside trimming hedges, Alan came up with his usual can of Coors Light. "So, you two thinking about leaving us?" he asked, grinning. I laughed. "Not anytime soon. Just talking." He nodded like it was no big deal. A week later, I got a call from our longtime realtor, Melanie. Her voice was tight. "Mike, why didn't you tell me you were listing the house?" I blinked. "We're not. There's a listing online. Same address. Your house. Same photos from when you refinanced last year. Only the owners listed are Alan and Tricia Lang." My heart dropped. I pulled up the link while we were still on the phone. It was all there. The custom kitchen Teresa designed. The bathroom I remodeled myself. Our actual house, but not our names. Alan and Tricia Lang. Bold as hell. Like they owned it. I stormed next door. They were on their back porch. Alan had his feet up on a cooler. Tricia was slicing lemons for iced tea. "What the hell is this?" I said, holding up my phone with the listing on the screen. Alan didn't even flinch. "We were just testing the waters," he said casually, like it was the weather we were talking about. "Testing what?" "That's our house. You used our pictures. You put your names as the owners." "Relax, Mike. No harm done. Just curious what kind of offers it might pull." Tricia nodded like this was all perfectly normal. "It's not like we broke into your place or anything. You listed our home without our permission." Alan shrugged. "Like I said, testing the waters. I walked off before I did something I'd regret. But that wasn't the end of it. The very next day, I got another call. This time from some real estate office I'd never heard of. Guy on the line named Greg said he was processing closing documents for the property. I told him there had to be a mistake. He paused, then said, "Well, we have Alan and Tricia Lang listed as the legal owners, and they've accepted an offer from a Mary Carlisle. Financing just cleared." Mary Carlisle. Tricia's cousin? I remembered her now, oversized sunglasses, red wine teeth, loud laugh. She'd been at one of their parties years back. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I called the police. A young cop came out, took some notes, shook his head. "They didn't file anything with the county yet. That's when it becomes criminal. Right now, it's more of a civil issue. A shady one, yeah, but not technically a crime yet." I called a real estate attorney next. I was so angry I couldn't see straight. The lawyer confirmed what the cop said. Until they filed something legally, I didn't have a case. But he also said something that stuck with me. "If you want to shut this down, go the legal route. But if you want them to feel it, you've got to be smart. Find out what they care about, and hit it." That night, Teresa and I sat up talking in the dark. We weren't just angry. We were betrayed. We'd lived next to these people for years. Trusted them. And they tried to sell our home from under us. To family, no less. I decided I wouldn't just stop them. I'd ruin them. I wasn't going to let this go. Not just because it was our home. But because Alan and Tricia didn't even try to hide what they did. They acted like it was no big deal, like we were the crazy ones for being upset. They tried to steal from us, plain and simple. I spent the next week digging. I wanted to know everything I could about the Langs. If I was going to hit back, I had to know where to aim. First thing I found was that they hadn't paid off their house. That surprised me. I thought they were retired with no debt, but no, they had 2 loans on the property. And they were late on one of them. Then I found the real gem. Tricia had started a little, home staging, business with her cousin Mary, the same one who was buying our house. Their website looked half-finished, and their client list was basically empty. But they had a business bank account, and it was tied to their house. I pulled Teresa into the plan. She's the one who suggested we do something that looked legal, but would still shake them to the core. We decided to list their house. I called up Melanie and explained everything. She was horrified when she heard what the Langs did. So I asked her to help me post a fake listing, not to actually sell their house, but to get it out there and make it look real. We used an old set of photos I found from a city tax records site, and I pulled some from Tricia's own Facebook page. We put the house up under a fake LLC. I made the name sound real. Cascade Ridge Holdings. Registered it through an online service with a Wyoming address. Totally legal, totally untraceable to me. Melanie used a dummy email for inquiries and posted the listing just like they did, with someone else's name as the owner. Within 2 days, they had people pulling into their driveway, walking around the yard, knocking on the door asking about open houses. Alan came stomping over to my door that Saturday morning, red-faced and shouting, "You think this is funny? People are out there asking if our house is for sale." "Oh, I don't know," I said calmly. "Just testing the waters." His eyes twitched. "You son of a..." I shut the door in his face. That night I ramped it up. I had a buddy who owed me a favor, he's a contractor, and I asked him to make a few repair estimates for the Langs' home. Fake ones, nothing crazy, just enough to get flagged if anyone tried to refi or sell. He uploaded them to a few industry databases that realtors check. Slapped a couple liens on their public file. Then we reported their home staging business for fraud. I told the IRS they were claiming business expenses on a house they didn't own, and I flagged their cousin Mary's offer on our house as attempted wire fraud. Melanie helped with that one. She filed a report with the Realtor Association, and the fake sale was shut down within days. A week after that, a man in a suit showed up at their door. I watched from my driveway as he handed Alan some papers. Foreclosure warnings. See, with all the mess I stirred up, the fake liens, the inquiries, the cancelled offer, the bank had questions. And Alan couldn't answer them. Their second loan got called in. They tried to act normal. Still mowed the lawn. Still waved like everything was fine. But then one day, a "for sale by owner" sign went up in their yard. That's when I made my move. I had another friend, Marty, old friend from high school, pose as a buyer. He offered below market. Way below. Said he'd pay cash, quick, close. They were desperate, so they took it. At closing, they realized who he was working with. Me. Alan looked like he wanted to explode. Tricia just sat there, pale, quiet. She didn't say a word. Not one. They moved out 2 weeks later. Left behind junk in the garage. I rented the house to a young couple with a loud dog and a habit of hosting late-night poker games. Poetic, maybe? But that wasn't the best part. The best part was watching Alan mow the lawn one last time before they drove off in their old Lexus. He looked over at me. I raised my coffee mug. "No harm done," I said. I thought it would end there. They were gone. House sold. Bank breathing down their neck. Business tanked. We were free of them. But this is the part of the story I didn't see coming. 2 months later, I got a letter. No return address. Just my name and our street written in scratchy handwriting. I opened it on the porch while sipping my coffee. Inside was a single photo. A picture of my backyard. It was taken at night. There were no words. Just that photo. And on the back, a date scribbled in pen. 2 weeks ago. Teresa found me standing there, holding it. "What's wrong?" she asked. I handed it to her. She went cold. "Do you think it's them?" she whispered. I didn't answer. I already knew. I checked our security cams, nothing from that night. Must have stayed in the blind spots or disabled them. I'd been so focused on revenge I hadn't stopped to think what they'd do if they came back swinging. I called Marty, the guy who helped me buy their house. Told him to keep an eye out for anything weird. He called me the next day. They never really left, he said. Trish's cousin Mary? She lives 2 streets over. Alan's been spotted coming and going from there. They'd been watching. I could feel the heat crawl up my neck. They were trying to scare us. I wasn't having it. That weekend, I drove around the neighborhood. I spotted Mary's house easily. She had a gaudy red front door and the same busted silver SUV from the fake sale fiasco. Parked out front, plain as day. I waited a day. Then another. I drove by a 3rd time, caught Alan on the porch, smoking, looking straight at me. Like he wanted me to know. I rolled my window down and stared back. He smiled. That night, I filed a police report for stalking. Didn't expect much from it, but I wanted a paper trail. Then I took it further. I hired a private investigator. Not cheap, but worth every penny. Told him I needed everything on Alan and Trisha Lang. Every debt, every movement, every piece of garbage they were clinging to. 2 weeks later, he came back with gold. Alan had drained a retirement account and was hiding cash payments by funneling them through Mary's short-lived home staging business. Trisha? She was working under the table at a boutique downtown using a fake name. They were broke and desperate, and probably thought if they could intimidate us, we'd back off and leave them alone. I didn't. I sent anonymous tips to the IRS, to Social Security, even to the Department of Labor. Anywhere that would sniff around if someone was hiding money or working under a false identity. Then I called the new tenants in their old house. Told them everything. Every trick, every lie, the full story. They had friends in local media. A few weeks later, a small online news site ran a story. Couple accused of fraudulent real estate listing now facing multiple federal investigations. The article didn't name me, but it named them. Their photo was right there. Smiling from an old Facebook post, dressed like they were headed to a church picnic. The headline made it look even worse. After that, they disappeared. Mary sold her house within a month. Alan's Lexus was gone. Trisha quit her under-the-table job. No one's seen them around since. But I'm not dumb enough to think it's over for good. So I still keep the cameras rolling. I added motion lights in the backyard. Reinforced the locks. Got a dog, big one, loud bark. And every time I hear a car pause in front of our driveway, I check. Just in case. They started this. But I finished it. About 3 months after the news article dropped, I got a call from a blocked number. I usually ignore those, but something in my gut told me to pick it up. Mike Price? A man's voice said. Yes? This is Special Agent Carroll with the Department of Treasury. I'd like to ask you a few questions regarding an anonymous tip you submitted about the Langs. I kept my voice steady. Sure. We met in person 2 days later. Small office in a federal building downtown. Gray walls, not a window in sight. Agent Carroll laid everything out. Alan Lang has been moving money under false LLCs for over 5 years. He said. Trisha's part of it too. Fake documents, bank fraud, tax evasion. Even that house listing stunt. They were trying to launder money through a phony real estate transaction using Mary Carlisle as a proxy buyer. If you hadn't spoken up, they might have gotten away with it. I was quiet. Just listened. Then he said, We'll need you to testify. I paused. I thought about my wife. Our peace. The fact that we just got these people out of our lives. You don't have to, he said. But it would help. I told him I'd think about it. When I got home, Teresa was folding laundry in the living room. I told her what happened. She didn't even blink. You have to testify, she said. Even if it means they come after us again? She looked me dead in the eye. If you don't, they'll find someone else to scam. You don't end people like that by just exposing them. You end them by standing in front of the court and telling the truth. She was right. So I did it. 3 months later, I was sitting in a federal courtroom in Portland. Alan wouldn't even look at me. Trisha stared at the table like her soul had left her body. Mary Carlisle wasn't there. She flipped early, gave up every document, and lied for a reduced sentence. She turned on them the second things got serious. I told the judge everything. The fake listing. The cousin's offer. The stalking. The photo in my mailbox. The night cameras. All of it. Their lawyer tried to twist my words, made it sound like a neighbor dispute that got out of hand. But the evidence buried them. Bank statements. Emails. Tax fraud. They got convicted. Alan was sentenced to 4 years in federal prison. Trisha got 2.5. Mary got probation, community service, and a permanent mark on her record. But here's the part one haven't told anyone, not even Teresa. 2 weeks before the trial, I mailed Alan a letter. I didn't sign it. Inside was a copy of the photo they took of my backyard. Same one they mailed me to scare us. On the back I wrote, "I told you there'd be harm done." Sometimes I wonder if that made me as petty as them. Maybe it did. Maybe I should feel bad for kicking them while they were down. But I don't. Because they tried to rip our life out from under us. They crossed the line and thought they'd get away with it. And I didn't just stop them. I buried them. They wanted to play games with my home? So I tore down theirs, brick by brick. And I slept like a baby every night after.